If you're looking for more horror outside of the mainstream, look no further than Unsung Horrors, a podcast about underseen horror movies. I'm Lance.
And I'm Erica. Every other week, we'll cover a horror movie with fewer than 1,000 views on Letterboxd. We'll even give you double feature recommendations to pair with the movies we discuss.
From gothic to shot on video, from slashers to comedies, from giallo to J-horror, we'll cover all the subgenres. So join us as we unearth these hidden gems of horror.
Follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, all at Unsung Horrors, available wherever you listen to podcasts. And part of the Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network.
Do you love movies? So do I. What's up, y'all? It's KB, and I love movies. Inviting you to listen to The Conversation, a film podcast where passion meets perspective and opinion. From the old school to the new, I invite a guest on to discuss the movies that thrill us, challenge us, break our hearts, or even blow our minds. There's always new episodes dropping wherever you get your podcasts. So join the conversation. We don't just watch movies. We love talking about them too. The Conversation with KB Loves Movies, a part of Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network.
Weirding Way Media.
Right, Mr. Walters?
You see that guy over there? Now, he's an actor. The guy on the phone? He's a prize fighter. Me? I'm a cab driver. I'm the only cab driver in this place.
Good evening and welcome to Night Mr. Walters, a taxi podcast. I'm HP, your co-host, and with me, as always, is my co-host, Father Malone. Father Malone, how are you this evening?
HP, what's your favorite Andrew's Sisters song?
Well, that's an interesting question, Father Malone, and we're going to delve into that as we discuss Taxi Season 3, Episode 10, The Costume Party, written by David Lloyd and directed by James Burrows. Reminder, we're doing these shows in broadcast order and not in order of filming. Father Malone, before we start, another page out of your book. I like to call things out, behind-the-scenes items that are of interest. I want to give a shout-out to Subcarpathia in Poland. Have you ever heard of Subcarpathia, Father Malone?
No.
You know? Well, when the last episode of Night Mr. Walters dropped, we had a spike in downloads from Subcarpathia in Poland. We had some, I believe it was close to 100 downloads in one day, which is pretty significant. Seems we might have a new listener in Poland, Father Malone. I don't know who you are out there in podcast land, but listener in Subcarpathia, thank you very much. Keep listening. We appreciate it.
Nostrovia, that sort of thing. I love a good Golumpki. I'll say
There
that
you
too.
go.
Also, I was just talking on my show about actress Yvonne Strahovski. She's Australian, but obviously a pride of Poland. Polish women are fucking gorgeous. I just want to throw that out to you, Poland, whoever you are in Poland.
She certainly is gorgeous.
I've known many beautiful Polish women. Thank you.
You know what's kind of funny? When I was following along your weekly roundup, I was following along with it on the transcript, I don't know if you realize this, but every time you say Ivan Strahovski, it transcribes it as Ivan Strahovski. So if someone's just reading, they might think you're obsessed with somebody named Ivan Strahovski.
Could be. I'll tell you something. If Ivan Strahovski looks like Ivan Strahovski, I am obsessed with that.
Bravo. We open Father Malone on a B-roll shot of Times
Isn't it,
Square.
though?
It's a slow zoom in as we see dozens of cabs streaming down the avenue. I'm not sure. We might have seen this in another episode, this very shot, but I thought it was a beautiful shot.
Beautiful shot. We've seen a lot. We've seen it a bunch.
I figured.
And they have some weird process going on where they're stepping in, they're zooming in, I think, further than the actual zoom because it gets all blurry and weird.
It's like when on your phone, when you zoom past like the optical part of it and it becomes a digital zoom. Of course, they didn't have digital zooms back then, but it fuzzies the image because it's a fake kind of zoom. I think you're right about this. So we cut inside the garage from that B-roll shot as an old timer hands in his booking envelope to Louis. This was a delightful sequence, Father Malone. This is something we don't see very often. A cabbie that actually has some agency in the show who's not one of the main cabbies. This is an old timer named Maxie Melcher. And boy, oh boy, does he ever look like a Maxie Melcher, doesn't he?
He sure does. I know this actor, well, from a few things, honestly, but very recently he was in an episode of Tales from the Dark Side called The Last Car, about a bunch of people trapped in a train car that never really stops and is constantly going through tunnels. Yeah, so I knew him from that, and I know him from one other thing. I can't remember.
He does look very familiar. I didn't know who he was, nor did I really look him up. But he's wonderful in this. He's very deadpan, and he's got to play off of Danny DeVito, who I think is delighted to be playing in this scene. In fact, I've seen some bloopers of this sequence, and it actually goes on longer than I'm going to describe. But literally, Danny DeVito couldn't get through the scene because he's just laughing so hard at this actor's deadpan expression as he's talking about him. Upon seeing the booking envelope, Louis comes over the PA, his microphone, to announce that someone special is retiring today after 41 years at Sunshine Cab. And as I said, this old timer's name is Maxie Melcher. Louis says it's customary to present them with a gift to help them track the passage of time. And he presents Maxie with this flimsy calendar that he's just kind of pulled out of nowhere, and it's all crumpled up.
It's awful. It shoves it through. Oh, it's so like it total indignity upon indignity, because it's supposed to be a watch. It's not. It's a old faded calendar that he then just jams through the cage to him.
That there's a hole where people hand him their envelopes, and he just shoves it through this little slot, rendering it completely crumpled up and just in no good condition. It's really a funny bit.
He's the head of one of the families in The Godfather. That's where I know him from.
Is that so? Really?
Yes, in the original Godfather. I swear to God.
That's a great call, Father Malone. Great call.
I'm positive it's him.
That's awesome. I'll chase that up. So after this little sequence plays out, the cabbies all give Maxie a round of applause, and as Maxie prepares to give a speech, Louis comes in. He callously basically cuts him off in mid-sentence. Another indignity on this old guy who's spent his whole life working at Sunshine Cab, and Maxie ends up leaving the garage with a small wave, and that's it for Maxie. Louis, however, he has his newspaper in hand, and he announces to Jeff that he'll be in the library if anyone needs him. I love a good metaphor for using the bathroom, and in the library with the newspaper is a great one.
No, I disagree, but go ahead.
I love it here because it's so Louis.
It is very Louis. I agree, and that's probably the best way he's going to describe that act. That's the nicest company version.
Yeah, it's just he delivers it with a smirk and goes away. Elaine and Alex are sitting at the card table. They watch him walk away with benign amusement as Bobby.
This is my favorite Elaine outfit, by the way.
Tell what she's wearing.
It's vaguely Annie Hallish. It's the button down shirt
with the tie.
With the useless tie untied, sort of hanging, and slacks. So it looks like she's going to a business meeting, but she owns the business.
Gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. Bobby, he comes in. Bobby, we're talking about stylistic choices. This is a doozy. He's wearing a purple sport coat and matching pants that would make the Joker proud. I don't know where they're getting his style. I mean, it used to be just slap on a leather coat and a shirt unbuttoned to the navel, and he's good to go. Now he's like, it's just wacky. He looks like Willy Wonka, kind of.
Yeah, I don't know what they're doing with Bobby anymore. It's clearly the writing's on the wall, right?
It is, but the interesting thing is, and we're going to get into this, but he's very good in this. In this episode, if you told me this episode was a season 2 episode, I would have believed you because he gets a lot to do. It's not as if you get the sense that he's getting pushed out the door, like they're giving him busy work, for lack of a better phrase.
I'm not necessarily saying that. I'm saying, stylistically speaking, they've given up on Bobby as a character. Like that, at least that side of the production team has given up already on Jeff Conaway, and maybe he's a problem.
Could be. I mean, I could also very easily see him trying to assert himself a little bit. I mean, he's been on this show for 3 years. He's one of the top billed actors. You could see him going in and saying, hey, you know what? I'm tired of the leather jacket. This is Bobby. He's a style guy. He's trying to be an actor. Let's put him in some cool stuff. You know, I could see him doing that, throwing his weight around a little bit.
I maintain that anytime we see Bobby in a different outfit, it's because Jeff Conaway has just arrived on set and they managed to get makeup on him and then push him in front of the camera.
Bobby furtively lays a leather suitcase on the card table, and he's very wary of everything that's going on. He tells Alex and Elaine to act natural. Elaine says, like, over a briefcase? What are you talking about? To which Bobby replies, this isn't just any briefcase. You see, Bobby, as he does, was cruising the Broadway district looking to make acting contacts when one of his fares left the briefcase behind in the cab. And Jeff figures...
Don't you think he should always be cruising the Broadway district?
You're right. He does say, I think he said something like, it's Wednesday, so I was cruising the Broadway district. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Don't you think, like, just 24 hours a day, just like hitting it, like, you know, that could be the argument with Louis. Like, what, this much? Like, I don't care. I made this contact today. I don't give a shit how many fares I brought in for you.
Yeah, you would figure that would be his top priority. But he does.
I'm logging all this down for my reboot of Taxi. I want to plug all these holes before we get there.
Oh, someday, Father Malone, we're going to have our discussion about, you know, if there were a reboot, and there could very well be one day.
I think we should do it animated, and we should call it Taxi Babies.
They're, instead of being in a garage, they're in a daycare. You know, and Louis in a like a crib instead of the cage. I can see that.
Yeah, one of those playpens.
Yeah. You know, a playpen. That's even better. Yeah, I can see that.
Or should Louis be in a high chair? And everyone else is in a playpen.
So he's higher than everybody else. That could be.
If you can, listeners, if you have any artistic skills and want to send us in some artwork for Taxi Babies, we will definitely feature it. I will feature it, and I'll make some videos with it.
I would love that. As long, my one stipulation is that it not be AI generated. That would just drive me up a wall.
I said you're good with art.
Yes.
You have to do the art, not the machine.
It doesn't mean you're good with an AI prompt. You have to have skill with your hands to make something.
Now I really want to see Taxi Babies.
Let's get a pitch going. Maybe, you know, some of these, Danny DeVito is always looking, you know, he's
oh my God. Okay. Now we've spilled the beans. Damn it.
Now, see, that's it. I'll have to cut all this out. Bobby, with this briefcase, he figures that whoever left it in the cab must be important to the theater.
Bobby is a dummy in this episode. I don't like his portrayal in this episode. Bobby was getting pretty cagey there for a little while. I like when he was going up against Louis, and he seemed sort of more realistic. I know he constantly had his let's call them dramatic flare-ups where I'm quitting acting and you all got to talk me back into it, like that kind of thing. But this level of stupid, like you said, if this were season 2, if this were season 1, if this were season negative, then I would believe his motivation here.
In a sense, you could almost look at this through a certain lens as an aspirational episode for Bobby.
Oh, it's definitely an aspirational episode, my man. It's going, and it makes Bobby a fucking idiot because it does, because it's like I was about to say Three Stooges. It's a Three's Company episode. It's a mistaken identity thing, but like. Anyway, I'm sorry. I'm jumping ahead, I guess.
This discussion attracts Tony and Jim to the table, which is alarming Bobby. The less heat on this briefcase, the better, because, you know, we'll find out he's afraid that Louis is going to discover this briefcase. He doesn't want.
You know what? Can I say about that?
Yeah.
He doesn't want Louis to know, because we know Louis will just confiscate whatever's in there, right? But realistically speaking, a customer has left their briefcase in the back of his cab, he needs to turn that over to the company if that customer calls.
What Bobby says is he's going to return the briefcase, but he can't find a way to get past the lock. And Tony reminds him that the rule is anything left in a cab goes to Louis. But Bobby, in turn, replies that anything that goes into Louis's cage vanishes from the face of the earth. So to counter your point, Father Malone, it's not as if Louis is going to be the good Samaritan who's going to return the briefcase. If he gets his hands on this, it will vanish from the face of the garage.
Right.
So,
right. I know that. We know that. You know that. Louis knows it. But he does have a responsibility. Like if that guy, that guy's going to call. I thought about it. I lost my phone recently and I had a fucking full on meltdown, man. Right. And if I could have pointed in any direction and gone, wait, I was definitely there. It might have been in that scenario. Then I'm calling. This guy would have called already.
Oh, yeah. I've lost credit cards. I've lost wallets. And the first thing I do is retrace my steps and call. Like I may be calling a gas station that I spent 5 minutes in. I'm calling restaurants. I'm calling stores that maybe I walked in, maybe I didn't. So I agree. If I were this guy who lost the suitcase, I'd be frantic. And I would remember, hey, I was in that cab. Well, that was a Sunshine cab. I'll call the cab company. But we're not quite there.
I lost my wallet at a stationery store in Revere, Massachusetts, and then drove to Scituate, realized I didn't have my wallet, called said stationery store in Revere, and they had it, and I had to drive back.
Oh, that sucks. How long of a drive was that for you?
It's like 2.5 hours each way.
Tony says, well, in that case, we're just going to have to bust the lock on the case. But Bobby, again, doesn't want to damage it. Elaine figures that Locke is a mechanic. He probably has a tool that will do the job, which is actually Elaine once again proving that she's maybe the most logical member of the crew. I'm surprised Alex didn't come up with that.
All this and brains too.
That's right. Gorgeous. So they go over to ask Latka, and he's very nonchalant. He says he has just the right tool. He goes back to his toolbox. You just see him rustle around, and they're all waiting for him. And then he comes running over holding a giant sledgehammer over his head, screaming like a madman. And they all manage to stop Latka creating a near perfect Iwo Jima tableau because they're holding up the sledgehammer from getting brought down on the briefcase. And that's when Louis comes back. And in fact, he actually makes a joke about the Iwo Jima thing, which I thought was kind of funny.
Do you love a tableau, HB?
I love a good tableau. Like it's something like The Last Supper. That's probably the most common tableau in a movie or a TV show. What are some of your other favorite tableaus, Father Malone?
The only good part of that horrible Bryan Singer directed Superman Returns is when Superman picked up the car and recreated the cover of Action Comics.
You're right, and I agree with you on that. That's maybe the only good thing about that whole movie.
I've been thinking about that a lot. It is literally the only good thing. It's great, but it ain't worth the rest of the whole movie to get there.
I've been thinking about that in light of the Superman movie and how terrible that was. Bobby declares to Louis that he found the briefcase in his cab and you're not getting it, Louis. Louis tells him, well, just open up the briefcase and find out whose it is. And Louis says he can open it, to which Bobby just scoffs at him. He just dismisses it. Now, I love this part too. I know I say that a lot, but I thought this was like a Fonzie moment for Louis, right? Louis looks the briefcase over. He picks it up. He turns it around carefully, looks at it, all these angles, and he puts it down. He slaps it Fonzie style in a certain spot, and the briefcase just pops open. And it's an amazing bit of physical comedy. I don't know how they got this briefcase to open in just such a fashion, because what happens is when Bobby lunges for it at that moment, but Louis slaps it closed before he can get his hands inside of it. And then Bobby picks up the briefcase and starts slapping it in all these random spots, and nothing happens. So it's probably some silly mechanism that's obvious, but I don't know how Louis slaps it delicately, boop, it pops open, but then Bobby slaps it all over the place and it doesn't open. How do you think they work this thing, Father Malone?
Well, it's a mechanism inside the case, and I think it's remote controlled, honestly. It might be something as simple as a magnet. You touch it with the magnet, or you touch it underneath with the magnet. so you can't see them touching it from underneath with a magnet, and it snaps open, because this whole thing sort of ends with Louis kind of going finger gun and ka-chow, and it popping open. So clearly that there is a mechanism at the table that they can use to make it pop open that way. Also, I love a scene like this too. I'm with you, by the way. The examining kind of, and then finding the weak spot. And remember, Juan Epstein trying to figure out how to open the crypt of the curse of Pew, when they were stuck in the tomb
in the museum. Yeah.
If you hit the door at a certain thing, and he does a dance basically, and he's kicking the door, and yeah. I love all of that kind of shit.
It's so well done here, and it's basically dialogue free, because it's really a battle of wills between Bobby and Louis. And Louis is the calm customer who knows he can open this thing up. And in fact, like you said, the best part is this happens a couple more times where he taps it and it opens, but he closes it before Bobby can get to it. But the final thing he does is, like you say, he doesn't even touch the briefcase. He just does a finger gun. Pow, shoots it, and whoop, the thing pops open. It's like, it looks like magic. I like your idea of the magnet. That's probably a good a guess as any as to how this thing actually worked.
Well, let's not forget that this was also the time of magical television characters. Mr. Rourke, clearly a magician. Fonzie is a warlock. Obviously.
See, I think Mr. Rourke is the warlock, because Mr. Rourke, there's always that hesitancy whether he's actually like a demon or angel, because some of these wishes that he grants.
Demon to hell, demon to some, angel to others, he'll tear your soul apart. Do you think Mr. Rourke is the inspiration for Pinhead? Do you think Pinhead is Mr. Rourke after he went to hell?
Well, wasn't that his line too? Smiles, everybody smiles, before he kills you with the blades that come out, you know?
By the way, the physical comedy that I like, aside of the pop and open briefcase, is the speed and ferocity with which Louis is able to close and snap the locks closed on the briefcase every time. It's great. And they've obviously worked it out, because I think if I were involved in the scene playing Bobby's role, I would definitely have lost my fingers.
It's so tightly choreographed, and as a viewer, that's all transparent. You don't think about that, but it goes off without a hitch, like you said. I would have lost a finger also, because the way he slams it shut, it's so quick and so sudden. Finally, after this goes on for another minute or so, Louis demands $10 to open the briefcase, and Bobby finally he obliges, and this is when Louis air shoots the briefcase open, and Bobby shoos Louis away. Now he's got his $10. Now it's Bobby's time to look through the briefcase, but Louis can't leave. He's like an addict. Father
this is so good. This is so good.
He plays it so well. He has to have something out of the suitcase. Just, it doesn't matter what it is. He's like
he has to steal something. He must have it.
Bobby compromises by giving him a pen from the briefcase, which Louis holds it up like it's this shiny bauble. He's like, "Look, it's a pen," and he goes over and shows it to Jeff in the cage. "Look, it's my pen." It totally satisfies him, and he goes away.
Do you know that kleptomania is like 90% female?
I think I heard that somewhere. I don't know where I would have heard that, but that is peculiar. I don't know what to chalk that up to.
Apparently, Louis is part of the 10%.
I guess. I don't know. They start going through the briefcase. The first thing that Bobby pulls out is a picture of Stephen Sondheim. And then Elaine pulls out a picture of Paul Newman. And they both feature the same unknown person in the picture with these famous people, which they reason must be the owner of the briefcase. Alex finds an appointment book, which contains stuff like lunch with L. Strasberg, which Bobby says must be Lee Strasberg, Wednesday lunch with Liza, which there must be Liza Minnelli, of course. And then Bobby also finds an autographed picture of Cary Grant. So there's all this evidence that points to the briefcase owner being some big old muckety-muck in the theater in some way, show business. Tony wonders who the guy is. Bobby says maybe a producer, maybe an agent. Then Alex has to, he has to be the pin that pops the balloon. He says, oh, he's a real estate agent. He produces a business card for somebody named Neil Zackerman from Zackerman Real Estate. They all figure that maybe this guy specializes in selling real estate to famous people, which is a logical conclusion to draw. Tony asks what Neil Zackerman's doing later in the week, and Lane looks in the date book and reads Woody's costume party Saturday night. Again, you already called Bobby a dummy, and this is really where that shines through. Bobby says,
everyone's a dummy here, clearly, but Bobby should know better. Alex should really know better. Bobby should definitely know better.
According to Bobby, this must be one of Woody Allen's famous parties. According to Bobby, this is an annual tradition for Woody Allen, and all the most famous people in the world show up. I've never heard of this, Father Malone. I think he's inventing this to get the cabbies going. I don't know what his game is here. Silly.
Well, maybe in the world of Taxi, Woody Allen has a famous costume party. But perhaps they've heard about Hefner's soirees over in Holmby Hills going on, but this is set in New York, so that's their equivalent.
Yeah, it just seems Woody Allen is an odd choice because I always thought of Woody Allen as being a very private celebrity who wouldn't host a party of this nature, but whatever. It's the world of Taxi. Like
who would have done this is Stephen Sondheim would have done it. Tony Perkins, and they would have turned it into a big old fucking murder mystery.
I tell you what, I would have loved to be at that party. You kidding me? With Stephen Sondheim,
my god! People talk about time travel, like fucking events they want to go to. I want to go to one of Stephen Sondheim's murder mystery parties in the 1970s. Jesus Christ!
Seriously, I mean, we're getting on a tangent here, but I think I told you I watched a video. There was a video on YouTube of Stephen Sondheim. He was basically teaching a course to some theater students in England. And they were running through a scene from Company, from his show Company, which is obviously one of my favorites anyway. And these are just, essentially theater majors. These aren't like serious actors or anyone of any import. But it didn't matter to Stephen Sondheim. That gracious motherfucker is stopping them, telling them to emphasize certain lines, giving them tips on how to breath control for these songs that he's written. It was just so heartwarming to see somebody like Stephen Sondheim, who didn't have to give a shit about any of this. He's directing these kids like he's directing Dean Jones and Company. I thought it was wonderful. But anyway, I digress. Elaine says she's never heard about this Woody party thing. That doesn't make any sense, like I said. But Bobby says Woody keeps it a secret to keep out the crashers. Now, this is when a light bulb starts to form above the cabbies' heads. Elaine makes the point that outside of the other invited guests, they may be the only ones who know about this party. And since it's a costume party, Father Malone, no one will know who they really are. And then after
no one is prepared that the entire cab company is going to end up at the end of Eyes Wide Shut here.
You think there's something freaky in store for
That's party? Right. They're the entire time they're given like secret passwords. They don't understand that they're being tested. One by one they're taken away. And in the middle of it is Reverend Jim Ignatowski in no costume, just wandering amongst all the masked, perverted acts going on.
I love where your head's at with this. This is fantastic. After a moment or two of this light bulb moment, Elaine announces that she's going to be Scarlett O'Hara. And Bobby says, it's like they've planned this. Bobby, without even hesitating, says he's going to be Cyrano. It's like he's had that queued up in his mind.
Yeah, obviously, and her too. They this is their costume. Like they've been waiting their whole lives for the opportunity. You probably got one. I've got one. We've all got one. Tarman from Return of the Living Dead. If I could do that costume right now, I fucking would, man. I'd run around the streets of Las Vegas right now as the Tarman. I'd have so much fun.
The only one out of this group that's not convinced is naturally it's Alex, who worries that they're going to look foolish if they're caught. Bobby tries to convince him because it'll be Contact City for Bobby. This is his big shot. Again, he's cruising the theater district. This is his big shot at actually making some real contacts in the theater. But then Alex correctly points out that they don't need him to go. They can just go themselves. It doesn't, them going to the party doesn't hinge on Alex's participation. But Tony's counter, and actually for a dummy, that I thought this was actually kind of funny. He says, well, if Alex goes, then it won't be so nuts for the rest of them to go. So it's not that they need him for any real practical reason. It's just that they'll feel a little less nutty if it feels like a logical thing for them to go to this party if Alex goes. Elaine says she'll even make a costume for him and for Tony and for Latka, which is weird because Latka hasn't really been raising his voice in support of this whole thing. They just kind of assume that he's going to go. I thought that was odd.
Yeah, of course he's gonna
go. What else does he have to do? I suppose.
Yeah, exactly. You know, he'll you'd hear his voice if he disapproved.
Yeah. Alex is still steadfast. He refuses, but which actually prompts Elaine to literally growl at him, Father Malone, and call him a drip. Calling someone a drip? What does that really even mean? Like, what's the connotation of that? Like, calling somebody a drip? How's that an insult?
They are neither a flow nor lack of flow. They're just some state in between of annoyance that you hear in the background. That's all they'll ever be.
I guess so. But finally, anyway, Alex finally relents and says he'll go, which prompts a celebratory chant of everybody chanting, "Let's go to Woody's. Let's go to," which is also funny that they're doing this, given that they've already said that secrecy is of the utmost importance in this whole thing. And they're literally in the middle of the garage chanting, "Let's go to Woody's." But during this, Louis sneaks in to the crowd and he starts chanting, "Let's go to Woody's," and jumping with them. But then the cabbies all tell him that he can't go. He's just going to ruin it for the rest of them. And then smugly, Bobby puts the date book back in the case, locks it, and taunts Louis that if you don't have the location, Louis, you can't go.
Mean.
It's very mean. Even for, Louis, it's
didn't
mean.
Like it. I didn't like this at all.
So at this point, Louis seethes as the cabbies continue the chant and we fade out to commercial. Now, the thing of it is, I really thought that this thing with Louis was going to end up being a side plot. Like,
me too. He was going to show up.
He was going to do his best to show up, and he would literally ruin it for them, as Bobby feared that he would. But, Louis conspiring to go to the party, whatever happens. But nothing happens. In fact, this is really the last we see of Louis for the whole episode. I thought it was a great opportunity that was completely wasted. It's just odd. I don't know.
Yeah, because they didn't need him at all. They could have just said, "Hey, I found this notebook or this date book from this guy who was in my cab. Look, there's some famous photos." And they didn't need to have included him at all to set it up that there is no payoff.
Yeah, it just seemed like an obvious thing that they would have involved him more. But nevertheless, we
plus they could have had Louis show up in a top hat, and you could have said, "He's a Tim Burton character. I just can't figure out which." How tall is his top hat determines which point of his career with Tim Burton he's at.
Oh, because we have Dumbo. We have obviously Batman Returns. What else? Is he in Big Fish?
Yeah, he's the ringmaster in that.
I got it. Yes. So we fade in from the commercial and B-roll of the harbor at night while some sweet Dixieland music plays. This might be the first and only time we hear Dixieland music on Taxi, Father Malone, because it has to be Dixieland because it's a houseboat. Like I guess there's a riverboat connotation, I suppose.
It definitely looks like a boat. Good work with the production staff here. Although it's overlit.
It doesn't exactly scream party boat to me, but nevertheless,
it screams Woody Allen party boat.
That's the good point. We cut to the boat interior as the cabbies all make their way into the party while costumed revelers are all around. By the way, I made a note here. All of the cabbies' costumes are way too professional looking to be authentic. Bobby's in this amazing Cyrano de Bergerac
but Bobby
costume.
is a theater guy. Bobby can get hooked up by there's some version of Western costume that Bobby has his hooks in after years on the streets.
I guess you figure maybe he just boosted one from a show somewhere, and that's what he's wearing. But Elaine is as billed. She is there as Scarlett O'Hara. It's gorgeous. Her hair is all done up in ringlets and everything.
Oh my God, she looks amazing. She kept reminding me of Jennifer Connelly in Labyrinth during the
Oh, yeah, from
when the world falls down sequence.
Yeah, another good call, Father Malone. That didn't occur to me, but that's you're right that she does hearken to that for sure.
And now I'd really love to see Labyrinth starring Marilu Henner.
A little old, but that's okay.
Hey, man, a little old.
You could do it. Maybe it's her child who gets taken by the Goblin King, and she has to go rescue.
I could see Marilu Henner as the Goblin King. There's something for okay, a little fair play.
We'll chew on that for a little bit. Bobby marvels that they could just walk in with no hassle, and Bobby and Elaine are just positively gleeful about how the party's on a boat. Classic Woody, they say, which I think is hilarious. Bobby says he's going to go mingle a little bit. And this is when Alex, Tony, and Latka make their grand entrance. Inexplicably, Father Malone, they're all dressed as the Andrew sisters.
It's not inexplicable. It's comedy gold. Don't you know when men dress as women, it's utter hilarity?
But I just think it's odd that Elaine would choose to put them all in drag, given that there's plenty of other costumes that would fit three people at once, like the Three Stooges, for example. I mean, I get it. It's comedy gold and it gets a big laugh from the audience. But in practical terms, it seems odd that she would opt to put them in drag, and B, that they would agree so readily, given that it's 1981 or 82 New York. It just seemed odd to me.
Well, and this isn't sort of character based. I don't think the choices going on here. I think these actors thought it would be fun, and they clearly knew the audience was going to go crazy, and that's everything that happened to it. I think we're not considering the possibility that in sitcom like fashion, like, there's always like an episode where a character will have made 2 dates with 2 different girls and they're at the same restaurant and he has to run back and forth. Perhaps This is a situation where Elaine has relationships with each of these guys where she is slowly feminizing them and now has the opportunity to bring them all together on this one night, and none of them realize that any of this is happening.
What a bizarre. So where did you pull that out of, Father Malone? That is an amazing bit of flight of fancy on your part.
Well, you were pointing out that it's crazy that they would have so readily agreed to it. And I'm like, well, why would they have readily agreed to it? Well, if they were in a relationship with Elaine where that was what was happening, each were doing it separately. That's all.
There's like psychosexual dynamics that I have to think about now between Tony and Elaine and Alex and Elaine and the Latka and Elaine.
And Latka and Elaine. And Latka is down for it.
Oh, sure. Because Latka has already revealed the darkness lurking under that.
He's a switch at least.
They all get a huge laugh, like I said, as they walk in. And Bobby, eating some hors d'oeuvres, sees them and makes a comment about how good they look. He mentions that the food is great and there's an amazing band playing back there.
I think it's the Rolling Stones. Like, it should have been something like that. Like that I mean, I think it's Mick Jagger. Like, they look like him, but maybe not. Like, I used to hear that the Beatles wanted to go on tour as somebody else.
That would have been the perfect band for that moment too. Like, it would have to be like a band so big that there's no way in hell they would actually play a boat party, but that's his imagination running wild again. It's got to be, he's got a mask on, but I think it's Mick Jagger, and I'm sure it's Charlie Watts on the drums, man. No one, I could see that. As they're talking, and this is another great part in this scene, harkens back to what you said earlier. Jim walks in and he has no costume on at all. He has his Canadian tuxedo. He's just strutting around like he might as well be at the garage. He's unfazed by everything that's happening at this moment.
To be fair, he has yet to put his costume on. He does put his costume on.
That's right. So Tony says, "Hey Jim, it's a costume party. You were supposed to dress up." And then Jim says, "Oh yeah." And he reaches into his pocket and he pulls out, I don't even know if they make these anymore. It's a pair of joke glasses. The ones they have,
of course,
like
they do. Like, what are you talking?
They've got like slinkies on the eyes, so that like they basically bounce up and down when you walk around in them. And it is so funny because Christopher Lloyd knows exactly how to twist his head to make these things like swing wildly back and forth. It is hilarious. It's so good.
It's well choreographed. I will give you that. And yes, of course, they still make that. That's a prime novelty. If there are any joke shops out there, they definitely have those glasses.
It kind of is, but I think the Groucho Marx, the schnoz with the mustache, it is like the joke glasses. Let's be honest, right?
Certainly, but these are a close second. Have to be.
Probably. I guess it's been a while since I've been to a joke shop, so maybe it's my own inexperience here.
Perhaps there's a skee ball tournament out there that might yield a pair of these spectacles for you.
Cash in 800 tickets, you can get the specs.
I think it might be a little more than 800, but yes, that is the idea.
Anyway, it's a great bit for Jim. And then Tony asks Bobby, who's famous here? And Bobby says, well, everyone is. He said, this is where the imagination runs wild. He says he heard two people talking that just had to be Diane Keaton and Truman Capote.
Oh my God, what is happening here? And could we hear them, please?
I know.
You know what I would love at the end of this if they cut back like Tyler Durden style to Bobby overhearing all the conversations. He's like, yeah, I heard. I swear to God, it was Diane Keaton and Truman Capote, and they sound nothing like it at all. It's just like it's clearly not them at all. It's like two like tall white guys just having a conversation. I'm sure it was Diane Keaton, and it's two guys talking about fucking Patriots versus the Redskins or something. I don't know.
There's the fantasy and the reality on either side. You see like Bobby's fantasy on the left where he's rubbing elbows with Truman Capote, and on the right it's just some plumber who has a Lone Ranger mask on, and that's basically it.
Oh, that must be Henry Kissinger. It's like, we'll go talk to him for 2 seconds. You know, like clearly not Henry Kissinger. Like show the band, and it's just some pimply teens. Like
Bobby says he's going to get a drink for Alex, and naturally, when Alex walks by, Bobby has to do a little pinch of his ass because naturally because Alex is dressed like the Andrews sisters. So he's got to get frisky in a jokey way, whatever. While they're drinking their drinks, Bobby takes a Dramamine pill because he says he gets seasick.
It's the motion that does it to me, Alex. It's the motion.
Well, this is another case of this is Chekhov's Dramamine because this is going to come back to haunt Bobby, as we're going to see. You don't present him with Dramamine,
right?
And not
and
follow through.
It is a 1, 2, 3 thing, right?
Yeah, it is. It really is. Alex goes over to a nearby couch and sits down, and Elaine runs over and tells him what a terrific time she's having already. She's like a gadfly. She's running around. She's having a great old time. And of course, why wouldn't she? She's a beautiful woman dressed up as Scarlett O'Hara. Of course, she's going to attract all sorts of attention from all the other revelers, She starts to rush off, and Bobby asks, well, why are you rushing off? And she's getting a little bit of that imagination sickness from Bobby. She says she was dancing with a guy, and she swears that it's Al Pacino. It could be anybody. It could be just some guy in a spacesuit. She doesn't know.
Yeah, or maybe could we do a flashback where everyone as they're given drinks, and then we show before they were served the drinks how they've been dosed with LSD or something like. So you're convinced that all of these people are famous people?
Seriously, they may not even be on a boat for all we know. Maybe this is all a figment, like St. Elsewhere style. This is a figment of their imagination.
They're on a ferry in New York Harbor, just going back and forth to the Statue of Liberty.
They're in the Staten Island ferry, and they're just walking in circles, talking to
they're all in costumes. Nobody else is in costume.
People edging away from them on the bench, like trying to get away from the weirdos in the costumes. So she takes Bobby to go and meet quote unquote Al Pacino. We fade into another B-roll of a docked boat with more Dixieland music playing. We cut back inside as Tony excitedly goes over to Alex. Alex is still sitting on the couch, minding his own business. He says to Alex, "You'll never guess who's here." As a guy in a Lone Ranger costume walks by, Tony says, "That's Henry Kissinger." And that finally gets Alex excited. I think he even goes, "Hey, that's a great man, Tony. That's that impresses." Finally, Alex is impressed by somebody that they claim on the boat, basically.
Alex has no use for actors and theater folk. They're beneath him.
He doesn't get starstruck at just anybody. It's got to be like a statesman on the scale of a Henry Kissinger to really get Alex's, to make him impressed with everything that's going on.
Sneaking into a party with fucking thespians is no thrill for a man who likes to ski jump with nude models, or so I've heard.
He's an adrenaline junkie before that was such a thing. After this, I know you love bad ADR in Taxi, and we have a little bit here.
Love it.
As they're looking at Henry Kissinger, you hear ADR of Bobby saying, Alex, Tony. And they go over to Bobby to ask, well, what's the matter? And Bobby says that he just found out that Broadway director Hal Prince is at the party. And he's fretting about how to meet him and what do we do? And Alex points out that he doesn't even know you're not supposed to be here. Just go over to Hal Prince and have a chat.
So stupid. Bobby seems like such a dummy here.
So Bobby is excited. He then pops more Dramamine.
Oh, I should talk to him? That's a really good idea, Alex. I'm going to go do that.
So he, like I said, he pops more Dramamine, which will, it's going to go fine, I'm sure. Tony asks Alex to go mingle. He's just been sitting there all night, and Alex is ambivalent. Alex gets a little bit existential here. He says he wonders why there's a special group of people named celebrities that we treat differently, Tony. Aren't they people just like us?
If you cut them, do they not bleed?
If you tickle them, do they not laugh?
Are kittens not the same adorable kittens with or without celebrities? Who needs them, Tony? Look, and we're all the same when we're wearing these costumes.
Aren't we all wearing masks that we walk around in even when we don't know that we have them, Tony?
I'm lost, Alex. What is your metaphor anymore?
So then Bobby shuffles back over. He's very downcast now. And Tony asks how it went with Hal Prince. And it turns out that Bobby threw up on Hal Prince because he's so seasick that I guess he just couldn't hold it in. And now Bobby's fretting about never working in this town again.
What he doesn't realize is he inspired Hal Prince to go work on the Sweeney Todd by doing that to him.
That's right. It's like, I've got it. And then he goes off and makes Broadway
what
history.
Had Sondheim been thinking about that crazy thing with it's all about body parts and stuff? Like, it could work. Now I know it could work. Concurrent with our plot where we reveal that nobody is famous, right?
Yeah.
On the other side of the boat, the actual famous people are, or maybe one boat over. Like we follow Hal Prince, and it's the real Hal Prince. And he goes, "Where were you?" He's like, "I went to the wrong party."
That would have been the best hook through all of this, that there actually is a costume party with famous people, but they got the address wrong. That would have been awesome. Bobby would have been this close to actually making his Broadway dreams come true for the sake of a 1 instead of a 2 on the doc listing, right? Oh, that would have been awesome, Father Malone. Latka walks over to the couch where all the cabbies have adjourned at this point. And Latka's excited about all the autographs that he's gotten. And this bums Bobby out to no end because he says celebrities don't ask other celebrities for their autographs, Latka. But Elaine she poo-poos his concern and says, all right, Latka, what did you get? And Latka describes all the autographs he's gotten. He's gotten an autograph from George Hansen, from Fran Petrocchini, from Gus Bates. Aren't these all people that you know off the top of your head, Father Malone?
I don't know.
Well, you don't, because apparently this whole thing is a sham. This is not the boat full of famous people that they were excited to go to see. Apparently, this is some sort of real estate, party or whatever, because they're wondering about these people. And then Latka points out that the guy that they thought was Kissinger, the guy in the Lone Ranger outfit, is Gus Bates. He's not Kissinger. Big surprise.
Well, I would rather talk to Gus Bates than Henry Kissinger,
but see here though, I like this because we get a little bit of Inspector Rieger. We've talked about him a few times during the Latka's Cookies episode, especially. Now Rieger openly wonders if they are where they think they are. And Tony says this explains something that he heard because somebody says they were in the Pacific with Woody during World War II. And then Bobby says, well, that couldn't be Woody Allen because he would have been about 4 during World War II. Inspector Alex reasons that these must just be a bunch of real estate people like Neil Zackerman. Relieved Bobby says he's so relieved he didn't vomit all over Hal Prince. He just vomited all over some poor real estate broker who we'll never see again.
Cut to my ending. Real Hal Prince talking to Stephen Sondheim.
That's right.
Well, at least we got a good idea out of it.
Tony says they should just get out of there, and they all start to leave. But then Alex stops them. Again, he's feeling very circumspect. He says, a moment ago, they thought they were having the time of their lives because they were with celebrities. And surely these people here can still be interesting, even if they're not famous. He says, I'm going to go get to know Gus Bates over there. And he strides over to Gus Bates and he introduces himself. And literally a beat after the Lone Ranger says, in the most vanilla voice you've ever heard, he says, I'm Gus Bates. Alex says, wait up, you guys. And he just, he couldn't get out of there fast enough because apparently just the sound of Gus Bates is enough to get him to run because he just seems like the dullest guy.
Alex Rieger finally learns his lesson at the end of this episode. Ordinary people are boring.
Actually, it's appropriate considering he was in Ordinary People, Father Malone. Did you mean to do that?
No, I didn't, but that movie is boring.
It's a Timothy Hutton. That's true. So we fade back into the garage where the cabbies are all gathered. This is kind of weird. They're still in costume, but they're toting a pizza and some beer.
I loved it. Oh my God. I love seeing them in costume. And we haven't really talked about the costumes that were at the party where everyone seemed to be wearing, no matter what their costume was, they were wearing those vacuum form clear masks you see that
like the bank robber mask.
Yes. That's all I can think of now when I see those is bank robbery. So to see the entire room sort of decked out in those did sort of reinforce the idea that this is some sort of Kubrickian sex club.
I just thought it was sort of weird that this party's a bust, so they're going to go adjourn somewhere and have a pizza. But why on earth are they going to go back to the garage? Why don't they just go to Mario's or go back to Alex's apartment and hang out?
Seems they spent the entire budget on the boat.
I guess so. They don't have the set for Alex anymore, so they have to go to the garage. So they wander in with this pizza and this beer, and Elaine is lamenting what a lousy night it is. And then this is just a button to the episode, by the way. And just to cheer her up, Alex, Tony, and Latka launch into, to your point earlier, apparently their favorite Andrew Sisters song is by Mir Bis Touchain. With the three of them, Alex, Latka, and Tony, perform it with choreography. They're harmonizing perfectly and everything. It's a fun little sequence, but it's a little odd. And it begs the question, Father Malone, how did Latka know the lyrics to an old-timey standard like by Mir Bis Touchain? Like he rattled it off like it was nothing.
Well, I think the Andrews Sisters transcend culture and nationality. I think I have no problem with the idea of Latka growing up with them just as American teens were growing up with them sort of after the fact. It's about the sequence. I do we're talking about Latka because I'm glad we're talking about Latka because he's great in this scene. He's really throwing himself into the choreography and just really having a good time. Latka is also the prettiest of the Andrews sisters.
You think so?
I do, and that's hard to pull off because Tony is naturally pretty, but not in a dress.
And we can agree that Alex is the ugliest of all of them. I mean, he doesn't hold up very well as an Andrews sister.
No, they make a Barbara Streisand joke about him. I'm going to ask you again, what's your favorite Andrews sister song? Do you have one? Because I have one.
Did they do the Boogie Woogie Bugle Boy, or is that
Yes.
Bette Midler? Am I thinking of? Okay, I guess that would be because that's maybe the only other one I can think of off my head. What's your favorite?
Oh my goodness! Don't sit under the apple tree with anyone else.
But me. Oh, that's a good one.
Oh, such a good song.
That is a good one.
Anyone else but me. Anyone else but me.
I mean, it is a cute ending. It's a little weird, but it's cute because they're doing it to cheer Elaine up, and it's
it's just it's a weird choice of song, and I don't know.
It's an odd thing that transpires, but it's kind of cute. And to your point, it is interesting that Andy Kaufman really gives it his all, because I can't help thinking that the provocateur, the person who considers himself above all of this taxi claptrap, would not have been enthused about having to dress up as an Andrews sister throughout the whole episode and then perform this song. So I guess it's a credit to his professionalism, I guess.
You know what it made me think of? It's pretty famous that as a child, Kaufman would basically perform his own variety show in his bedroom and make his sister watch. I could easily see him performing a Andrews Sisters number or two.
I could see that. And he did like a TV special where he talked with like the Howdy Doody puppet and stuff. I could see, yeah, you're right. I could see him having an affinity for all that old timey stuff. Sure. So that's the end of the episode. Roll credits. Now we're going to talk about yellow lights.
What does a yellow light mean?
Reminder, we score every episode on a scale from 1 to 5 yellow lights. 1 is the worst taxi episode, and 5 is the best. And as is our custom, throw it to you, Father Malone. What do you give the costume party?
I'm going to give it 3 yellow lights. It is neither hot nor cold. It is lukewarm, so I will spew it from my mouth.
I actually gave it 4 yellow lights, Father Malone. I gotta tell you, I'm a
close
sucker.
to perfect. It was close to perfect.
No.
You think all this idiocy, Bobby being a dummy, and okay, all right, go ahead. Yeah. Please justify your 4 yellow lights, please.
I will. I'm a sucker when the show gives us a full ensemble episode, and if nothing else, this is a full ensemble. You get all the cabbies interacting with each other. Yes, they're playing kind of dumb, and it's maybe not the most logic forward episode, and it's a thin premise. I'll give you that. A lot of logic holes, but it's funny nevertheless. And I just had a good time with it. I thought it was fun, and this is one that I would rewatch because it's just silly and it's fun and it's low stakes, and I enjoyed it. So 4 yellow lights from me, 3 yellow lights from Father Malone. That's going to do it for this episode of Night, Mr. Walters. Father Malone, where can the folks find you when you're not clocked into the garage?
I do a show called Midnight Viewing over, you just look up Midnight Viewing. And that's on twice a week. There's the weekly roundup where I look at brand new shows. And then every Friday, we look at older things like anthology television series like Tales from the Dark Side, or anthology horror movies, or just, I don't know, listener things too. HP's on there a lot. He'll tell you.
Sure. We're prepping for something we're calling Predator Fest at this point.
Until somebody comes up with a better name for that fucking thing. Yeah, we're calling it Predator Fest.
We're gonna look at all every sequel and every bit of Predator that we can get our hands on, and in preparation, obviously, for the forthcoming Predator Badlands. So I'm looking forward to that. So that's fun. But
including the books. Are you ready to read?
Oh, geez, you kidding me? There's only so much time in the day, Father Malone.
We're not gonna do any reading. I'm joking.
So as for myself, I also host the Noise Junkies music podcast. I'm an occasional guest on the Culture Cast with Chris Dashew, and
hey, I'm on Noise Junkies coming up.
That's right. I won't spoil it, but it's a homecoming of sorts for Father Malone, who was one of the original Noise Junkies. So we're very, very pleased about that. And I also have a Bandcamp site, hpmusicplace.bandcamp.com. So thanks again for listening, everybody. Please feel free to subscribe to the podcast, write a review, or rate us. We'd love to hear from you in any manner you choose. In fact, I have an email address you can send comments. Did you like the episode? You hate it? You're indifferent? hpmusicplace@gmail.com is the email address. Please send me whatever you got. So that's going to do it for this episode. Thanks again, and we'll see you all next time.
Night, Mr. Walters.
Hello, my name is Kevin Tudor, and I'm one of the 3 hosts of Almost Major, a film podcast dissecting many major indie studios and the films they release. Every week, myself, Charlie Nash, and Bryden Doyle discuss overlooked forgotten, or bona fide classic indie films via studio-specific miniseries. We've previously covered numerous films from Artisan Entertainment, Lionsgate Films, and New Line Cinema. Titles including The Blair Witch Project, American Psycho, Dogville, But I'm a Cheerleader, Saw, Requiem for a Dream, and Ringmaster, you know, the Jerry Springer film. Anyways, we have a fun time every week and we hope you will join us. Subscribe to Almost Major wherever you get your podcasts. Now proudly a part of the Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network.